Okay, gonna have to do this a little bit different. The first video I was doing cut off after 3 hours and 23 minutes, of course. Cut off after a phone call right after I was talking about the food chain for global control. So Satan and his Illuminati definitely trying to screw things up and trying to knock me off the path, and I didn't realize that the video would have quit, so went another. I finished, but the video was not running, so I'm gonna try and splice this to. I'm gonna try and put this together with the other video, but if not, then this is gonna be part two. So I'm gonna continue where I left off, where I saw that I stopped on the video. So the video cut off right as I was starting to talk about the food chain for global control. Excuse me. That's how they That is basically the Illuminati and how they control the world. But now I want to talk about how they stay in control. And how they stay in control is they set up two classes: the ruling class versus the working class. Now you heard the terms 1% and 99% during Occupy Wall Street. And that was actually a great movement that was quickly clouded over to mean something else. Like that was basically saying, Wall Street is purposely made complicated, and it's purposely made really hard to understand so that most people don't understand it and they can't figure it out, and most people just stay away from it. They're like, I have no idea what's going on. I can't understand that, so I'm not even going to look at it. So most people just allow Wall Street to operate as its almost own little world. But the Occupy Wall Street movement was basically like, well, this is our money. Our money is around here. That has a big effect on our world. So we want to see what goes on here. Where's the money going? What's going on? And so they're basically saying like, we have every right to be here as you do. And basically it was basically putting attention on trying to figure out what's going on with Wall Street. How does it work? What do they do with the money? How does money get lost? How does money get gained? So, that was the point of it, but it started, quickly was turned to mean something else. But the terms 1% and 99% really came into the mainstream during that time when that movement was going on. And those terms are based on the ruling class versus the working class system. Now, the ruling class is the 1% that takes 99% of the wealth and resources and stuff. And the working class is the 99% that splits the 1% of the rest. So the ruling working class system is the 99% and 1% stuff. It just didn't really come into the mainstream speak until the Occupy Wall Street movement. But you see, the thing about the ruling class is they do not think they're bad. They don't think they're the bad guys, and they don't think they're doing bad things. They just think that they're better than the rest, and that they're owed most of the wealth and resources in the world. Like, they believe that there is a difference between ruling class and working class. Ruling class deserve to have a good life, most of the money, lots of free time. The working class are the ones that work. They're the ones that do the work and keep things moving and keep things rolling. And it's they just believe that's the way the world works. It's right, like if you're not in the ruling class, then you're the working class, and you don't ever get more than what they say is your share. And that is why all these you always see when these big companies fail or whatever, or they always give big bailouts to the executives and the CEOs, and all the workers and all the normal people, they get screwed. They get nothing. So it happens. It's been happening all in every single generation of our society. It happens today. I mean, you saw it with Sears bankruptcy. All the executives and CEOs got big fat bonuses and bailouts and things like that, and all the workers got nothing. All these workers that were relying on Sears to provide income, they're all shit out of luck, and they got nothing. And it's and see, they believe that we should only really have so much money, so much time, so much information, so much freedom, so that we never question or question the system or figure it out. You know, as long as they want us to have, they believe we should only have just enough so that, you know, we're not too discontent to where we start looking, well, like, why is this going on? Or like, they want us to have enough so that we don't question the system or don't figure it out, but not enough to actually have, you know, a good life or to start, you know, to start moving forward like that. They specifically want a difference between the ruling class and the working class. And, you know, and you see it in all these different, you know, you even see it in the school boards, like all the big school board trustees and all the CEOs and executives and stuff, they make big money and the teachers make jack. So it's like ruling class versus the working class. And if you look around our society, you see that example everywhere you look. You don't have to just believe me. You can look around and see the facts and the evidence and information for yourself. But, and you know, this is why, you know, like I said, like this is the small percentage at the top get everything, and the larger percentage, you know, that are in the middle get nothing. So it's and you know, the ruling class is mostly made up of Satan and his Illuminati. It's like that is 99% of them. I mean, it's very, very hard for somebody that's not loyal to Satan and his Illuminati and not connected to them to be able to get into a ruling class position. And they try to keep the Illuminati family members in the ruling class positions only. So the whole system I broke down in the Murder of Pope John Paul I video broke down the Illuminati in those 13 to 16 families, and you know, and those are the families and the people that they try and keep in the ruling class positions, because those families are basically who they determine to be the ruling class. And that's who they allow into ruling class positions. And that's why when in different businesses and companies, when working class people have earned a ruling class position, they don't get it. Because the ruling class are making the decisions and they want, you know, Illuminati loyal family in there, and whether they deserve it or not. So that's why you see a lot of promotions going to people that don't deserve it, but they're connected to the ruling class, so they get it, and the working class is just deal with it. So it's, you know, like, but see, the thing is, if we destroy this whole system, then they lose their ability, they lose their power, they lose their ability to have power, and they lose their control on society, on all of us. And we destroy that system, we bring them to justice, and we take control of society for good, and we change it so that it works for good things for good people, and this working class versus ruling class society is done, where, you know, a small percentage of people keep the most of the money and resources, and the majority of the people have to split, you know, nothing. So it's we need to end this system. If we do that, that is how we just take down the Satan and his Illuminati, and their influence and their control and their power, but to make sure that they never get it back, we need to have something in place, some kind of system in place, to where we can, you know, move something that it can help society move forward, and something that can, you know, just something that can replace the ruling versus working class society that we've been living in forever, basically. So when we finally do crush this ruling working class system, my best plan for a replacement would be something called a guaranteed minimum system. And the guaranteed minimum system is it's based on a concept that I learned in grade 9 science. Grade 9 science teacher was Mr. Humphreys, and Mr. Humphreys had he had this thing that he did before every test, and he would have like certain phrases that were relevant to what we were learning about, but certain phrases, and you'd have to write lines, and you'd have to write, you know, 2 pages of this one, 2 pages of that one, 2 pages of this, and then before the test, you'd hand them in, and if he'd look them over, rip them up, and throw them in, you'd get your guaranteed minimum. And if you did that, you get a guaranteed minimum. I think it was 50 or 60%, but it was a pass. So if you did those lines, every single test, you were guaranteed a pass, even if you didn't fill out one question. Oh man, some of the worst things where, you know, you'd go through all that work, filling out the lines to get that guaranteed minimum. You'd flip through maybe one page, rip it in half, throw it in the garbage. Next, check your name off to the guaranteed minimum. And then it was like hours and hours and work for literally just 5 seconds of good, done. And everyone talked about, oh, you just got to do the first page and then you're good, but no one ever had the balls to actually hand in guaranteed minimum to Mr. Humphries. That was not 100% of what he wanted, because man, thinking about him catching you was just the scariest thing. So, but that it really helped me in school for tests, knowing that you passed and knowing that you just had that, you're going to be okay, at least you passed, really helped me do focus more and do well on tests. So I thought the guaranteed minimum was a great thing, and it was the only class I ever experienced it in, but it stayed with me. And when I started learning about the world and wanting to contribute to changing it, that was one of the things that kind of always would come to the forefront of my mind, and I would think like, man, like that might be a way to make a society, for like that could be a good way to make create a system so that everyone has guaranteed minimum, no one gets left behind, and that would help everyone. So so that's what my replacement idea is called. It's called the guaranteed minimum system. And it would basically start with, like, the government would just build big apartments, just big apartment buildings like you see normally that are normally for rent. These would be no rent, no utilities, and it would just be the basic minimum to survive. Like there would be it would basically just be a room, just one room, like enough for a bed, maybe a little table, and access to a bathroom. Everyone can have their own little bathroom, but there would be like a big mess type kitchen, so that you could, it was easier to be able to have everyone in to promote fellowship and things like that. But this place is just for bare minimum survival. So, and it's but the government would build these places, and every single Canadian would have the ability to live in one of these if they chose when they became an adult. So, and I guess we can lower that. I mean, there are kids. Homeless kids on the street, that's just this brutal thing to think about. But I mean, you could obviously make exceptions and figure things out. But I mean, as a general rule, these would be for adults. Once they turn 18, you'd have access to live in one of these rooms, and wouldn't have to. You'd allow people to have their own permanent rooms. You wouldn't have to make people switch from, as long as they're going to be in the same city and stuff like that. But they'd just be the basic minimum for survival. Like just a bed, a small little bathroom, and maybe enough for a little table, and basically that would end homeless living, because I mean, no one would ever have to live on the streets, because you as an adult Canadian, you have a bed to go to, and and hope it's. And I know, but they wouldn't have to build one for every single Canadian. Like, I mean, most people would have the means or would desire for better living conditions or to have more possessions and things like that. So they would pay for their own or live elsewhere. But this is just a place so people can't say I have nowhere to go. Like, this is all you build these places so somebody can say I don't have anywhere to go. Yes, you do. You have your room at one of these apartments, and there would be a lot of energy focused on making these positive places. Wouldn't let it become run down and dirty. Like, create jobs for people to clean them, work in the mess, cook the food, and it would just be, everybody working. It would be everybody working together, and but it would just be a place for people to know if they need a place to stay, then they can go and stay in one of these apartments that the government provides for every single adult human being. And so now, obviously trying to do this, something nice like this, make sure everybody has a place to stay and place to live. You got to worry about Satan coming up and trying to influence and ruin it with sex, drugs, violence, things like that. But it's there would have to be rules, obviously, to make sure none of that's, this is just for basic minimum survival, so, I mean, it's not a place to have sex, or, it's not a place to do drugs, or, to have violence or anything like that, but, you would hope that people recognize this as something that could really help everyone, as something that could really make sure nobody gets left behind, in life, and help us build it up and not tear it down. So people would take responsibility not to bring sex, drugs, and violence or whatever into these places, and allow it to be the place that it needs to be in, and it could be in a place for everybody, and just to make sure that everyone has a place to stay. And eliminate homelessness. Homelessness is one of the great problems of our society, and I know there are a lot of other factors contributing to homelessness: drugs, mental illness, things like this. Some people, influence of Satan and his demons. Like, there are a lot of reasons why people are homeless. Sometimes they've alienated everyone around them, and they'll alienate anybody that tries to help them. And so sometimes it's a lot more than just like, here's a room to stay. Like they'll figure out a way. But like, it's just starting at the ground up, making sure that everyone has a place to go, and nobody can say they don't have a place to go. That is where you start, and just as long as you address the things that could go wrong, you have more of a chance of making sure that people just take the responsibility on themselves not to ruin something that could be really great. And then I would give every adult citizen that made under a certain amount of money per year a guaranteed minimum amount of money per month for food, bills, and a bit of entertainment. And I would have experts sit down and figure out what the bare minimum would be that could give them food for a month, and give them pay bills for a month, and give them a little bit of entertainment for a month. And I would figure out what that number was to be just enough so they could have the bare minimum to provide all those the necessary things that they need. And but this way somebody could conceivably survive in the world and still enjoy life without working. Because right now it's just a slave to a job. You have to work to survive, or you'll die. And I know some people roll their eyes. This might be where I lose some people. Like, oh yeah, you just want to give out free money and put everyone on welfare. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the people that choose not to work and want a simpler life, they can live and enjoy life without having to be forced to work, and still have a good life and enjoy it. So. But as soon as the people that want more and have the desire for more, well, they would work, and working would become a privilege. Like, working would be, you'd work because you wanted to have a better quality of life, or you desire more things, and it wouldn't be because, anybody could have it. So there would be much more of a reward for all of our hard work and all the time, effort, and energy we put into work. Because the wages would definitely be increased, especially for highly underpaid jobs like teachers and some of the more dangerous labor jobs. Like, those wages should be way up. Massage therapy should be paying more for how much of an effect that we can have on helping people and stuff. So it's working would become a privilege. If you had more things, people would know that you had a job and you worked for it. But people that didn't care about those kinds of things, they weren't forced to work. They could live a life and still and not have to work. So I just think it would create a much better dynamic for people, and it would be I don't know. I just think that would lead to a much better. I think it would lead to a much better world for everybody, because the people that work would really be rewarded for that, and the people that just wanted to live life would be able to. So it's I think that's I think that would it might seem it might seem like a crazy concept, but I think it's much more of a practical one than you might think. Now, another skeptical question might be, okay, pal, where's all this money going to come from? Well, you just got to remember that there will be so much more money and things to go around when we take back everything that they've been hoarding from us. And that's what I mean by when I say their God is money. Like, Satan is Illuminati, everybody loyal to them, their God is money. When I say that, I don't mean like they look at money as like an actual God. Like, when I say their God is money, it means like they're obsessed with money. Everything they do revolves around money. Everything they do revolves around gaining another dollar. Everything they do they don't do anything that has not that excuse me They don't do anything that doesn't have a connection to money. And all they care about is how much, like, as how much money in their bank account, their total wealth number. They always uh, they are absolutely obsessed with moving the number of their total wealth in their bank account higher. Moving, like, they would risk everything they have just to add another dollar to it. Like, they can't, if they see money, they have to have it. They need it. Like, they can't. That's why there's so much greed and so much obsession in the world, because when their god is money, and they'll go after every single dollar, every single dime, every single down to the smallest fraction of money. Like, they will go after it hard. And, like, then that's because their god is money. It's completely normal to them. And but that's why they're able to live as the worst versions of themselves, because they justify it with money. They justify it by how much money they have, or how good their life, how much fun they're able to have. But they're just like, when I say their god is money, I mean it's because they're just all obsessed with it. Nothing they do is not connected to money or gaining money or things like that. So it's it's the reason when, like, when you see like people in the ruling class do any. That's why these CEOs, and they don't, and all these executives, they don't feel bad about getting the bailouts, and everybody in the working class getting nothing. They feel they deserve it. And because their god is money, they are just obsessed, and they can't think about anything but the money. So it's like, people's emotions and how it affects people, doesn't care, doesn't matter. All they care about is the money, and how much they can get of it, and how much they can keep away from people. And that's, they don't, and they're so obsessed with it. It's like, even spending it is tough for them. Like, they love to just sit on it and say, it's like basically Scrooge McDuck. How big is your pile of money to sit on? It's like, they're not spending it, they're just sitting on it, hoarding it. So when we're finally able to take it back and crush the system, there's going to be so much more money to go around, and so just going to be so much better of a world to live in. And people will be able to be paid more money, and we'll have the ability to pay out a guaranteed minimum to the people that don't really want to work. So it's but that's what I mean when I say their god is money. And another big thing for the guaranteed minimum plan would be I would move things to a 4-day work week. Like, I know that as a society we can figure out how to get things done with a 4-day work week. Because it's it's so huge, having that, sometimes when it's like, when you're you feel, it's Sunday and you're like, oh man, I gotta go back to work tomorrow. Having that extra day, it'd just be such a relief. Like, no, I don't, I got one more day. And then you only have to grind through 4 days. So 4-day work week, I know society can come together and figure out how we can all make it happen. But that is one of the big things for quality of life. I would have massage therapy covered by healthcare. I mean, massage therapists should really be right there in doctor's office with them, because, I mean, if someone comes in with illness, sickness, obviously massage therapy can't help. But certain pain and soreness that's, not structural, that is muscular, can help so much. And a lot of, general, my lower back, my hip, my whatever, like, when they can't figure out pain and soreness, sometimes it's massage can be the treatment that gets it done. So, I think I would have massage therapy covered by healthcare, just like prescriptions are. So a doctor, someone comes in with lower back pain, you do your test or whatever, nothing structural. So, okay, I'm going to prescribe 3 massages, and we'll come back to me after that, and we'll see where things are. And then having a massage therapist in the clinic, boom, that you can just go right over and make an appointment. And it would just be, massage therapy helps so many people that, it was great to get us part of the insurance company plans, but the next big boom needs to be part of the healthcare plan, because then everybody can get help. Massage therapists can make career wages to keep people in the field, to bring more talented people into the field, and you can help so many people and eliminate such a strain on our healthcare system, and keep people away from pills and stuff like that. So that would be one of the biggest things to build in the best version, and one of the big parts of the guaranteed minimum system. Jail would definitely need to change as well. It would be a big change, you know. For me, I would make it about education and rehabilitation, and it would just be, you know, because smart people don't do the stupid shit that puts people in jail. You know, if you send somebody in jail and you get them smarter, they're not going to do the stupid stuff when they get out to put them back in jail. So it's and you know, terrorizing people or allowing them to be terrorized. I mean, some of the more brutal crimes, you think that it's right, but it's not. That's not justice. It's, you know, just that's not something that should be done, and it's not. I mean, that's one of the. I mean, one of the things that's big scary about jail is that it's a place where you get terrorized and stuff like that, but it's really counterproductive, and it's really, I mean, obviously it doesn't do that much to keeping people away from it. So but if it but you know, it doesn't do anything to just terrorize. It doesn't help people change or get people to a better version of themselves. So it's, you know, education and rehabilitation has to be the goal and the focus. And, you know, losing your freedom and time, most of the time when you're in the prime of your life, that is definitely justice. And, you know, any consequences that you have from the sin that you committed, you'll have to accept when your consciousness transfers back to your soul, and that's when it matters the most. So I mean, punishment here means nothing to what you'll have to go through, you know, trying to get through hell if you have consequences of sin on your soul. So that's where it will count, and that's where, you know, it means the most. So, you know, like, that's not up to us to judge. It's just up to us to, you know, we need jail for, you know, to have a society. You need a jail. If people are gonna, you know, be influenced by Satan and his Illuminati and break the law and hurt people, they're gonna have to be a place where they can, you know, just try and figure out how to recover and rebuild and rehabilitate. But darn. Well, yeah, but yeah, they're like, it's because, I mean, you don't have to worry about people getting off, or, you know, if we don't punish them brutally, then they're not going to pay for their, like, they'll pay for it. Nothing we can do here is, I mean, if they did it and the consequences are on their soul, they will pay for it. So I mean, we don't have to terrorize them, and we don't have to, you know, we just it's just jail should not be what it is. I mean, especially with all these, like, I mean, some of the private prisons and things like that. And I mean, no wonder we have the issues we have with laws and police and things like that. I mean, it's just private prisons is an absolute ridiculous term that I can't believe is real. But I mean, jail should only be for people that are obviously shown they can't be in society, and it shouldn't be about terrorizing them. It should be about rehabilitating them, educating them, and trying to get them back into society if you can, if they haven't, you know, committed too serious of a crime. But I mean, that's kind of brings, I mean, for murder, I mean, when I'm talking about education and rehabilitation, it's like, you know, you want to be able people to have second chances and to be able to show that they've, you know, that that's not the version of them that they're going to die as, or they're going to live as, or whatever. That was a different version of them. But, you know, for murder, it's tough, you know, because I really feel that the victim's family should have a say in release, you know, because if they oppose release, then it's almost a sentence on them as well, to know that, to feel like justice isn't served, to feel like their person's almost getting away with killing their loved one or the person that they're supporting. But I mean, on the other hand, if someone shows really good behavior and shows they've changed towards the best version of themselves, and the victim's family is still, you know, will just never ever budge, then that's tough to keep them involved. But I mean, there's no black or white. I mean, it's every situation is different. So I mean, you can kind of have guidelines, but you have to treat each situation as it comes, and each one's different. And no, just because you did one in one doesn't mean you're going to do the same decision in the other. So I really feel the victim's family should have a say in it, and if the person can show the family that they have changed into a different version of themselves, then, you know, I'm sure it would be a lot easier for everybody to move forward. But we just jail. I just want to change it to a place of true rehabilitation. Um, so and I'm, but then if you do change it to that, then if you change it to that, then it would just be more chances for people to get to the best versions of themselves. And it's important for people that have allowed themselves to live as the worst versions to get a chance to be the best, because once they get there and see it, it's that moment is so worth it. And it really goes a long way. And more people we can keep away from the worst versions of themselves, the best. And the way jail is, that a lot of times it allows the worst versions of people to grow and thrive in there. So it definitely needs to be changed. And I would build mental health hospitals where people could go and see a psychiatrist, psychologist, just like they could a regular doctor. That would be a very big part of the guaranteed minimum system, because mental health is such a huge issue and affects so many people in our world. And I think that would help a lot of people recognize if they're closer to the worst version of themselves than the best. Because when people that are racist and misogynist and xenophobic and things like that, they don't realize that they're the worst version. They just thinking that it's normal. Their head is so clouded that they just don't realize that they're closer to the worst version. So, when you bring it up to them and say, like, man, you're being racist, you're closer to the worst version. No, I'm not, man. You are. You think you're better than me? You think you can tell me? You think you're perfect? And it's like, see, none of us are perfect. So it's tough to be able to tell someone, hey, you're doing something wrong. You're living the wrong way, because it's like we're all doing at least something imperfect. But there are leaders and leaders in leadership positions have to help try and guide people. And it's just it's important. And so if people that are leaders that have the right information, gotta just try and help people to direct people to the best versions of themselves. And it's tougher, but sometimes it's easier coming from a psychiatrist, psychologist, someone that's a professional, and not someone that you have an emotional connection with, or someone that that has education towards something. So it might be easier to hear it from them. And more access to people to those services people have, the more chances we have for people to wake up out of the worst versions of themselves and move to the best. And that is how we get to the best version of this world, society. And that's the best possible outcome, and that's what we all got to be working towards. And the world is going to be so good if we can get everyone there, but it's just, we have to give people opportunities to do that with things like mental health hospitals. So it's, but the other thing is we also need the psychiatrists and psychologists to be coming at it from working from a Christian perspective. Because connection to God and Jesus is the only way to get the armor of God, which is the only way to stop the influence of Satan and his demons. So it's we need. I mean, you can give someone all the advice in the world you want, but if they're not connected to God and Jesus, you're not going to get the armor of God, and you're not going to be able to resist the influences of Satan and his demons. So it's important for our psychologists and psychiatrists that are in those leadership positions to become working from a Christian perspective, so that people can get the connection to God and Jesus and receive the armor of God. And that comes into what I'm saying. Christianity is not a religion, it's just the truth. I'm not trying to saying you push religion on everyone that comes in. It's just Christian perspective is just accepting Jesus as our Sire and as our Savior and Messiah, and treating others as you would like to be treated, and Good Samaritan, helping others. And it's that's the Christian perspective. So it's that helps people be the best version of themselves. But it's needed. So we need these mental health hospitals, but we need the people, the leaders coming at it from a Christian perspective. I would also have every single home fit out with a self-sustaining energy box. I know the idea is out there, solar panels for the roofs, but it's renewable energy to keep every house self-sustainable and pumping energy on their own. And it's just through that, I mean, being able to eliminate all those utility bills, and allow people to have their homes be self-sustaining, and really just that is just such. Oh God, I want that world so bad, and then we just really expand our recycling efforts. Recycle. Have the organic waste recyclings. And just really step up our recycling of cardboards, plastics, and just every kind of thing. You see so many things. Can't recycle this, can't recycle that. You could recycle anything if you really put your mind to it and you really wanted to. It's just they say they can't because they don't want to recycle. So we need to step up our recycling efforts and for the, like I talked about, for the plastic, for trying to make roads and solidify the roads and things. But it's But it was, and talking about the plastic roads before a few episodes ago, I just saw an article from this. I think it said it was from someplace in India that was figuring out how to bring plastic fibers together and build roads out of that or something like that. They were much more durable. I don't know if it's true. It could have been one of those fake news, meme things that's just bullshit that someone's making up. But at least people are on the same wavelength, kind of thinking the same way. And if it's not true, eventually someone will figure out how to make it true. And we can just use all of our recycled plastics to solidify our roads and to create roads. And that way, the infrastructure would be a lot better. We're not going to have as many problems with that. And then we'll have we'll have somewhere to do with our recycled plastic, which is a huge problem in our landfills and oceans right now. So it's, we need to figure out something, and the best way is to get two birds stoned at once and take a problem and turn it into a huge positive. And I think that could be, as long as the experts say it would be viable to make for the plastic roads to help solidify them, or even then to make them just plastic. It's like, man, if that's environmentally viable, rock and roll, man, because that is going to do so much to moving us forward to the best version of society. And our hemp, and that leads into our hemp. We need to step up our hemp usage and make hemp a major part of our world, because hemp, cannabis, marijuana, whatever, it's God's gift. It's like the spiritual translation is God's gift, and it really is God's gift to us, because one half of the plant can be used for countless practical things: fuel, plastic, wood, paper, clothing, this oil, just so many different practical uses for hemp that would totally take the pressure off of our planet and really help us with waste and pollution and things like that. And then the other half of the plant can be used for medical purposes, for recreational purposes. It can be used to help so many things: pain, soreness, migraines, cancer, so many seizures, so many different medical conditions, and it's no negative side effects. You can't overdose on it. It's a plant. You could grow it on your own. You can make it into food. It's like, God, it really is God's gift to us. And it's been attacked and locked down for so long, but now it's bursting out with all the legalization. But the legalization is only the start. We got to start bringing hemp into the forefront. And the reason why it was all made illegal to begin with is because the guy that owned all the timber forests wanted their paper and everything was all hemp before that. He wanted it to be wood paper to use as lumber, so he could get rich. So what did he do? He got his buddies to make cannabis, hemp illegal, and we've been living in that world ever since until this great year. But it's hemp usage needs to be a major part of our world, and it's a major part of the guaranteed minimum system I have going forward. I truly believe that this guaranteed minimum system is the way to get the best version of this world, and we have to end this ruling and working class system, but we need something to replace it. And this system really, I just believe it. I think it focuses on enough that it doesn't leave anybody behind. So I'm willing to buy into anything that is the best, leads us to the best version of society. It's not. I'm not saying I think it's the best because it's my idea. I think it's I think I was able to figure out a really good idea. But if someone else has a better one, man, I'm on board. I just want to take down Satan and his Illuminati and the working ruling class system and bring in a new system that does good things for good people and just helps us build the best version of this world and helps us be the best version of ourselves. And it's closer than you think. You know, I really think it's easy, and it would be a lot easier to transition to it than everyone might think. You know, we just need people to wake up to Satan and his Illuminati and what they're doing and start fighting against their influences. And, you know, if we do that, we're able to crush their system and destroy their power. And, you know, that's the food chain of global control. That I broke it down. That's how they control the world. How they maintain their power is the ruling working class system. But if we crush that system, we destroy their power. We end their influence over us, and we start building the best version of society, and we get to be the best version of ourselves. And the amount of free time, fun, fellowship, and the amount of good things in our life will just make this life we've been living for the last 100, this society will be a bad dream. We think about being a slave to our jobs and think about what, like, the 9-to-5 working system and all the debt we had to deal with, and we think about all that when we're living in a society of a guaranteed minimum system, hopefully, and where you know, like, everybody has enough, and people that want more work to have more, and, you know, everybody works together to have fellowship, and everyone's the best version of themselves. Like, it's we're not gonna know how we lived 1 second in this world, in this life, but it's not as far away as people think, and it's not as hard to get there. But it just takes, all it needs is really the right people waking up, and the power, and that can get into the right positions to, you know, take Satan and his Illuminati down, hijack this society, and, you know, just change it so that it works for good things for good people and is the best version of it. But and, you know, we need to start exposing the really big power players behind Satan and his Illuminati, and one of them that it's really crazy to see how they've been able to, you know, how much control they have over the world, but at the same time, how nobody knows about them, and that's the Rothschild family. Now, if you look throughout history, they have done some really, really smart but just underhanded, disgusting tactics to gain control and power of this world. I mean, they went so far as to getting the newspapers they owned to print that Napoleon lost the war. Everyone sold their stocks. They bought them all. Next day, people realized they didn't lose the war, came back to buy them all. Who owned them all? Rothschilds. So who had all the power and money? Rothschild. Who has all the power and money in our world? Rothschild. Who is not anywhere to be found on the Forbes richest people in the world list? Rothschild. Who owns the Forbes richest people in the world list? Rothschild. Who doesn't want you to know or talk about them? Who doesn't want you to think about them? Who doesn't want you to know absolutely anything about them? Rothschild. That's going to be one of the videos in 2019 that I do, but that one's definitely more complicated. It takes a lot of time and effort into it. But I just wanted to highlight that out there because they're the richest people on the world, but no one ever knows about them or talks about them, and they're not on the richest people in the world list because they don't want you to know about them or talk about them. They don't want you to know they have money. They don't want you to know how many companies around the world that they own. They don't want you to know how much influence they have around the world. So they're the ones. The Rothschilds are the ones that push forward the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is how Satan and his Illuminati keeps control over the U.S. And it's, you know, so it's and it's kind of weird, you know. Lately, you just saw Donald Trump say that the Federal Reserve is one of the only bad things or whatever, and it's like so annoying that he does so much evil, bad shit, but says something like that's actually good. So it's kind of, you don't know if they're trying to discredit the criticisms of the Federal Reserve, or if, I don't know what the hell he might be doing, but it's just it annoys me when people I know are working for Satan and his Illuminati say something good, because it's like, you know, unless they're really turning their back on them and really just like, I don't really care anymore, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna expose you and do whatever. It's like, unless that's happening, but you know, you'd know if that was happening. So it's like, it really annoys me when that. But you know, the Rothschild, the curtain that they've been living behind is about to be pulled back. The smoke's going to be cleared from the room, and everyone's going to see who they are, how much influence they have, and, you know, what's been going on. But Wanted to throw that out there before I end the video, but that's wild. That is more than enough today. That was 3 hours 20 minutes for part one, and this one looks like it's probably gone a good half an hour 40 minutes. So that is going to be all it for today. Hopefully I'm able to splice these videos together. If not, it's going to be part one and part two. But I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and definitely a Happy New Year. 2018 might not have been as great, but 2019, I really feel it's going to be the start towards the best. I think it's going to be the start towards the best version of society. Excuse me. But we're fighting for the 2020s. The prophecy said, there's a prophecy that said the 2020s is going to be the greatest period in human history, before or after, and got to fight for it. Certain things need to happen. Certain things have happened, so it's we are right in line for the 2020s to be the best period of human history before or after. We just got to get there. So it's that's what we're fighting for, and we are gonna win. But the prophecy says 2020s could be the best period of human history before or after, and it's I think we're gonna we're gonna win, and it seems like so far away and so impossible right now with the state of things, but like I say, it's not gonna take much, and once we get that little bit it takes, boom, nothing can stop it. But that is going to be it for today. It's been a long run, but we are at 50, number 50 of what's up in the world today. I didn't know if one would go well, never mind 50. So this has been one of the most satisfying things I've done in my life. I was always scared about, I've had all this truth and all this information. It's like, but I've kind of been in a way sitting on it. Like I tell people that are interested, but I've never been able to put it out there en masse. Just some of the dreams that I have for some of the dreams and goals I have for the world. If I start working with some of these companies, am I going to have time to focus on putting the truth out there? And so now with these 50 What's Up in the World today episodes, I've been able to put most of that truth I have out there and most of the things I wanted to say, so that when I move forward, and if I get to start working with, on a higher level with a company, or on my own at a higher level, at least I'll have done my. I'm never gonna stop. I'm just gonna be putting the truth out there in different ways. But at least now I put it out there, so anybody that's seen me post the videos or knows me nobody can say that they can't say to God they didn't know better, because the truth was handed to them and they decided not to take it or not to watch it or whatever. But I'm just satisfied that I was able to put the truth out there. I'm not ending What's Up in the World today. I'll talk about that in the next one. I'm going to do a kind of a retrospective of the 50 episodes and talk about the future. But it's probably not going to be coming as frequent, because I don't have as much material after the first year doing 50 episodes. But it's one of the satisfying things, and I just really appreciate everyone that's giving me even one view, just views, comments, if you've watched and taken thoughts away from it at all. I just really appreciate everyone supporting it. It's been, like I say, one of the most satisfying things, and I think that I can see now why God has built the path this way. I got all this information. Now this year I've been putting it out to the world, and now hopefully in 2019 I'll be ready to move forward and start using the strength that He's been building in me all these years. But that brings me to the end for the day. I hope everyone has a great Christmas, and I thank everyone for coming along for the ride, and we'll see you very soon down the road. Much love, and God bless, and Merry Christmas. Peace.